and America's godly heritage. We talk about anything that affects your faith, your family, or your freedom. So don't go anywhere, because Point of View starts right now.
Across America, live, this is Point of View. And now, Kerby Anderson.
Thank you for joining me. You might remember yesterday, of course, we talked about the shooting that took place just a little over 9 miles from where we're broadcasting right now in Dallas. Our first article by Jim Garrity said when news broke of the shooting in the Dallas ICE facility on Wednesday, the shooter's motive was not initially clear. Killed 2 detainees and critically injured a third. But over time, we were able to, of course, see the various messages, the anti-ICE messages on some of the shell casings and the rest. And he goes on to say, look, and while everyone has a right to criticize our immigration policies, and ICE is not above criticism, you start to wonder whether months and months of calling ICE agents fascist and jackbooted thugs are convincing some individuals that it's time for a violent resistance to the United States government. And goes on to say it's not hard to find figures on the left arguing that ICE agents deserve no privacy. He says, look, I'm not a particularly big fan of federal agents wearing masks as they perform their duties, but it is undeniable that there are people out there who want to harm ICE agents and their families, and that is reasonable concern. He goes on to say that at least some kudos to The Atlantic, which is kind of a left-of-center magazine, for running an article with the headline, "Left-Wing Terrorism is on the Rise. For the first time in 30 years, attacks by the far left outnumber those on the far right." And he makes the case, which I have as well, that even some of the individuals that are counted as right-wing actions, and one of those that is mentioned is the killing of the Minnesota state legislator Melissa Hortman and her husband, the individual, as he goes through, explains that this particular person who murdered those 2 individuals wrote that he had been secretly trained by the U.S. military, had participated in secret overseas missions, all in the line of what I thought I was doing right in the best interest of the United States, and then said on one of the letters he was approached by Governor Tim Walz in order to kill the state's 2 U.S. senators because Tim Walz wants to be a senator. Okay, we're dealing with somebody who obviously didn't do some of this for political motives. He's just not well balanced. And I think it illustrates that really we come back to these words have consequences. And for those of you that like to take some notes, you might number 1 to 3. It's about time to think this through. Point number 1 is political violence is wrong. Doesn't matter whether it comes from the left or the right, from Christians or non-Christians, political violence is wrong. Number 1. Number 2, the perpetrator is the one that should be held responsible. The person that throws the punch, the person that tosses the Molotov cocktail, the person that pulls the trigger should be held accountable. But there's a third point that I think gets lost somehow, and that is words have consequences. We talk about ideas have consequences and bad ideas have victims. Well, bad words have consequences as well. And that means that people that are using these kinds of words really should be held accountable. Here is an article from the editors of National Review. The attacks on ICE must stop because once you start making these statements, sooner or later somebody's going to act on them. And we had transgender individuals ambushing the police in Alvarado, Texas, at an immigration facility. You have an individual open fire on an immigration facility in McAllen, Texas. Of course, you have the one here in Dallas. I'm just picking the Texas ones. Of course, I could pick what's been happening in Portland, Oregon for some time, what's happened in Chicago. There are lots of examples of that, but it's just an illustration again that words have consequences, and individuals that keep using those words, they should be held accountable. And the argument that there's free speech, yes, we believe you are free to say just about anything you want, but you're not free from the consequences of what you say, and that's why I think we need to start talking about that issue as well. Well, this is our fourth day of Truth Team. We'll get into much more of those issues. I only, of course, summarized the first page page and a half of a very good piece by Jim Garrity on another case of left-wing violence and some of the facts and figures you need to know about. And you can find those at the website at pointofview.net. But let's once again bring back to the microphone Collin Lambert, because it's our fourth day of Truth Team Week, and we're doing well, but we have a ways to go.
We do have a ways to go, and it's the final 2 days. That's what I want to remind you about, the final 2 days. Today, tomorrow, that's it. We have a goal for the week of $150,000. This is to maintain what we're currently doing. It's not extra money. It's not to buy a golden microphone, as Rush Limbaugh once did, I think. It's really just to maintain what we do each and every day here on Point of View, and Kerby does it so very well. I know you know that because you're listening all the time and listening today. 800-347-5151 is the number. Pointofview.net. You can click in there. Our goal for the final 2 days here, we're down to $98,000 to go, Kerby. So that's what we got to get through today and tomorrow, $98,000. And I tell you, it's going to take gifts of every size. You've said it before, no gift too small, no gift too large. If you give $10, we appreciate it. It's going to make a difference. If you give $100, it's going to make a difference. $100 a month. We're also going to need some leadership gifts, $5,000, $10,000. We've seen some of those already, but we're going to need more to make it to that goal of $98,000. Many of you received an email from Kerby this morning, and all you got to do is open that up, click on the link. It'll take you right to where you need to give, as many people did this morning. It's a great way to participate. 800-347-5151. pointofview.net, or again, open that email, click on the link. It'll take you right where you need to go.
If you're one of those individuals like I am, where you get hundreds of emails a day, at least I do, I don't know if other people do, it is the title, Now is the Time, and I think it's important to recognize that now is the time. Some of you have been waiting to the last day or two, and we are down to the last 2 days, and $98,000, that's quite a bit of a hill to climb, but we certainly believe that we can do so. And just before we get back to some of that, let me mention that in just a few minutes we're going to be talking to our friend Don Blythe, and he is At the Well Ministries, but also be talking about his Project Truth. Long before even Charlie Kirk was on campus, I was on campus, Don has been on campus, many of us have been speaking there, and so we'll be talking about what he's been doing on campus, how he's been addressing the issue of abortion, and I really am looking forward to the next hour as well, because we'll have Farris. Michael Farris will be in with us as well, an individual that is the president both of the Homeschool Legal Defense Association at Patrick Henry College, and we're going to be talking about some very significant victories in terms of speech as well as in terms of what can churches actually do, so you'll benefit from that as well. But just as Collin mentioned, we encourage you to join with us. We've always mentioned, but it's worth mentioning again, you don't have to have all the money right now. As a matter of fact, consider joining us at the monthly level for as little as $1 a day, $30 a month or more. You receive not only the Outlook magazine, but our booklets, and at different levels. We have a $50 a month level. We have a $100 a month level. We're certainly going to need from some of you, but those monthly gifts are very helpful, and sometimes people say, I could not give you $360, but I could give you $30 a month.
It's a great way to give, and we're listener supported, so it's up to you. We don't receive any government grants, and there's no large endowments. Your gifts make this broadcast possible every single day. 800-347-5151 or pointofview.net.
Well, let's take a break, but this would be a perfect time to call. I've got both my daughter and my wife. Your wife is here, and some other staff are ready to answer the phones. I'd rather have them not looking at the phones, but answering the phones. So give us a call, 800-347-5151. We'll be right back.
This is Viewpoints with Kerby Anderson.
Now that students are back in school, parents sometimes take a moment to look at the textbooks their children are reading. Often they are shocked at what the authors of the textbooks write. Daniel Buck and Anna Lowe of American Enterprise Institute also recommend that you look at the textbook publishers themselves. They argue that the bias in textbooks is real. They say skim through the voting section of McGraw-Hill's civics textbook and you'll see images of Hillary Clinton's and Elizabeth Warren's campaigns. Grab the same publisher's world history textbook, and you'll read that the First Intifada was a mostly unarmed uprising against Israeli occupation, conveniently omitting discussion of the 200 murdered Jews. They point to Pearson Education that launched a Pride 365 initiative designed to incorporate LGBTQ themes into all classrooms every day. Houghton Mifflin announced its support of Black Lives Matter and established a Black Alliance employee group, and they describe one history textbook, still approved on the College Board's website, that depicts Donald Trump's election as a racist, white majority reacting to fear of the growing ethnic diversity in America, and it also depicts Trump as mentally unstable. Now, they do admit that the textbooks shy away from the radical conclusion of Howard Zinn or the 1619 Project, but the narrative is one of big government ever championing over conservative recalcitrants. They concluded that it will take far more than a few executive orders to reroute America's schools back to a path of traditional academic and political neutrality. That's why parents and grandparents should be concerned. I'm Kerby Anderson, and that's my point of view.
For a free booklet on biblical reliability, go to viewpoints.info/biblical reliability. Viewpoints.info/biblical reliability. Restoring America's Godly Heritage. Point of View.
Well, I really believe that Point of View does a tremendous service to the Christian church because Kerby is able to take complex issues, break them down so that we can all understand them, and then in addition to that, of course, provide the biblical framework and a response that we should have as believers. And I don't know of any program that is as contemporary, as up-to-date, and as handled as well as Kerby on Point of View. I think that those of us who benefit from Christian radio should be the very ones who support it. So I would encourage all those who are listening right now to make sure that they are in touch with Point of View, and be sure to leave your gift, because together we can make a great difference.
Point of View. Restoring America's Godly Heritage.
Some comments from Dr. Erwin Lutzer. Of course, you know Dr. Erwin Lutzer only so well.
Yeah, I do. I know him and have spent many times with him, and D.C. when he's visited there, been overseas with him, and he taught at Moody Church, of course, for many years, and Running to Win, his radio program. Great guy, and he knows the importance of this program and encourages you to support at 800-347-5151.
I just mentioned, too, I've got a whole shelf of Erwin Lutzer books, and it groans under the weight of all those books, and he has certainly been a good friend of this ministry, and a good reason for you to call right now, because we do need to finally finish off this very significant challenge. And again, our goal was what, $150,000?
We're down to $98,000 to go, and your gift makes a difference. It really is up to you. So far, over 100 people have participated, but there are thousands of you who listen each and every day. If you've never given before, I want to give you a personal challenge to step to the phone or go to your computer and be a part for the very first time. Maybe you've never given before. Today is the day. Don't wait. Don't put it off. Help us out. 800-347-5151 or pointofview.net.
Let's get 5 calls right now. And as we introduce Don Blythe, and he is with the ministry At the Well Ministries. Of course, if you listen to this program any length of time, you're familiar with him. He, of course, has what is called the Project Truth Ministry. He's, of course, had an abortion clinic ministry. He's also had a college campus ministry, a high school ministry, and a street ministry. Through his ministry, thousands of babies have been saved. He's also been arrested. And Don Blythe, welcome back to Point of View.
Hey, Kerby. Of course, I say good to hear you. I can hear you every day, though.
Well, I'm glad you're listening to us from California. And,
That's right.
We've been talking about, of course, over the last couple of weeks, Charlie Kirk, a good friend, an individual that we gave the Marlon Maddox Award to. But long before he was even born, you were out there on the streets, certainly trying to catch abortion-minded women and convince them to save their baby, to catch students on college and high school campuses and confront them with truth. But tell us a little bit more about that.
It's been about 41 years now, and about 20 years ago, we went from just the sidewalk counseling ministry in front of abortion clinics, and my niece, Courtney Blythe, inspired me to start going on to college campuses. We didn't realize that we had the right to be on college campuses, and so we started going on college campuses about 20 years ago, and I love it. I love it beyond imagination. We would go onto the campus and set up a display and then hand out literature, and we focused on abortion and the gospel. And about 10 years ago, we started hearing about a group that was starting up called Turning Point, and that's when they were just political, and they would come by and say, hey, yeah, we appreciate you guys and everything. But then, about 5 or 6 years ago, Charlie had a real paradigm shift and started realizing these kids desperately need Jesus Christ. And so we had been doing that, but we didn't have quite as a aggressive kind of ministry that he had, although you would think they did, because Monday I got arrested again at San Jose State.
Wow.
And
I've spoken to San Jose State, but I didn't get arrested when I was there. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I think the day after the funeral, the memorial service, they probably thought, let's go after some of these Charlie Kirk type people. And so we had our display set up. It was going great. We were having, we don't do the microphone, but we have one-on-one dialogues. There's about 12 of us on our team, and we were talking and sharing, and the president of the college just blew a gasket and said, you can't be out here with that display. Only students can have tables, and a whole bunch of unconstitutional statements. And then they arrested us. So it's the 8th time I've been arrested in various outreaches, and so it's kind of, I hate to say it, it's kind of routine, but we have Life Legal Defense Foundation here in California that are awesome, and the Life Legal Defense has, I've won every case with their strength and their wisdom, and so Monday I was being handcuffed and being put in the car, and I was thinking, does this mean I'm going to miss my time with Kerby?
Well, we could always talk to you from the cell, but it worked out very well. And it's just an illustration of just the intensity on campus. And I've spoken in college classrooms. I've spoken outside of classrooms. A lot of that is ending because the universities have really clamped down and also even allow students sometimes to attack some of the speakers, which you've endured as well. But I wanted people to know about that because as we lament the passing of Charlie Kirk, I don't want people to think all of that is over. Some of us were involved in that project and will continue to be involved in project before and then even after he is gone. So that is a very important issue. And I thought for just a minute, let's, if we can, Collin, talk about why we encourage people to support Point of View, because you're going to only hear about these kinds of stories and even about the arrest of Don Blythe on a program like like Point of View.
So many of the stories that you bring forward, Kerby, are stories that maybe hit a newswire somewhere, but most people are not hearing them on the nightly news. Certainly your networks are not carrying them. You might see them occasionally on Fox News, but you're going to hear each and every day stories that you're missing in the news that are of great substance and great importance to what's happening in the country. And best of all, again, you're going to hear it from a biblical perspective. So I want to encourage you. We've got a $98,000 remainder on our goal for the week, $150,000, $98,000 remaining, and I'd really love to see that count down during this program today. We just have today and tomorrow. Your gifts enable us to do this. Your gifts make a difference. 800-347-5151. Whatever size gift you can give, we need to hear from you. And if you can give a leadership gift, one of those larger gifts, $2,500, $5,000, $10,000, that's really going to help move us along. 800-347-5151 or pointofview.net.
Don, let's, if we can, talk about why you listen to Point of View. Part of that is, I think, you certainly learn what we talk about. I know that sometimes you jokingly said, I'm listening to Kerby again. Here's another few dollars I'm going to have to spend on another book that I wasn't planning on buying. But you certainly value what we provide every single day, and that's one of the reasons why you listen to Point of View and why you're willing to come on to talk about these issues.
Yeah, yes, sir. You have cost me a lot of money for all the books I've had to buy, but I can tell you that those of us that are on the front lines, a lot of times we can feel a little bit discouraged and a little bit alone. And when I can flip on my radio on my car and I can listen to. I was listening to you guys when Marlon Maddox was around, and so I've been listening for a long time, and you guys are inspirations to us, and I've considered you one of my mentors. And so you, Frank Turek, and some of those guys, they're my mentors. And so I'm sometimes in front of the abortion clinic with the radio on and listening to you. And if you have a subject on there that just nails it, I'm going, wow. I don't know how much people realize that we need encouragement, and with some encouragement coming from right out of our car, right while we're standing there, and it makes all the difference in the world, because you need encouragement. And so when there are babies that are saved, when there are lives that are changed, when we're on a college campus, much of that goes to you. It goes to the Point of View broadcast.
Well, that's a good time to then give us a call. 1-800-347-5151 as we go to the break. Perfect time to call. 800-347-5151. Let's get 5 phone calls. We'll be right back.
Do not miss your opportunity to join the movement, the team. I'm talking about the Truth Team, Point of View's most faithful sustainers dedicated to reclaiming America's godly heritage. There are only a few days left of Truth Team Week, and we still need to hit our goal so we can carry the truth forward. You can be part of that. Will you join the team today and make a difference? As you know, this is a pivotal moment in American history as we approach our 250th anniversary as a nation. Now is the time to turn back to truth. When you give to Point of View, you're equipping people everywhere to apply objective truth in a world that's forgotten what truth looks like. Act now. Join the Truth Team at pointofview.net. Or you can call us at 1-800-347-5151. The Truth Team. That's pointofview.net and 1-800-347-5151. Point of View will continue after this. You are listening to Point of View. The opinions expressed on Point of View do not necessarily reflect the views of the management or staff of this station. And now, here again is Kerby Anderson.
Back once again in studio with me today, Collin Lambert, and we're talking with Don Blythe. In just a minute, we'll be talking with our president, Warren Kelly. But first of all, Collin, let's just remind our listeners that we are desperately in need of some people to make phone calls right now.
Yeah, a little behind where we'd like to be right now, but we still have plenty of time if everybody gets involved. $98,000 is our goal. We want to count that down. Our goal for the week, $150,000. We're already down to $98,000, but your gift right now can really help us move forward. We need gifts of every size. Maybe you can do a $30 a month. Maybe you can do a $50 a month, $100 a month. Again, as Kerby said earlier, you don't have to have the money right now. You can spread it out over 12 months. We'll make it easy for you that way. And again, if you received one of those emails this morning in your inbox, just open that up, click on the link there, or you can just call in. We've got volunteers standing by at 800-347-5151, 800-347-5151, or go to the website, pointofview.net, click on the big banner that says Restoring America's Godly Heritage, and it'll take you right there. It just takes 2 or 3 minutes. But we are listener-supported. We can't do what we do day in and day out without you. If you appreciate the ministry of Kerby and this team, and it is ministered to you, the Bible makes it clear. You heard Erwin Lutzer say it earlier. If you've been ministered to, you need to be ministering back to that ministry that helps you with your walk. 800-347-5151.
Don Blythe, I'm going to come to you for just a minute. We have, of course, a link to atthewellministries.org, taking the message throughout America, going to churches, abortion centers, high schools, colleges, in the streets. If people would want to maybe have you come and speak, or if they would like to maybe learn vicariously from you what they can do in their community, or for our listeners in, say, the Central Valley area would like to join with you, even if they don't want to get arrested, it does seem to me that there are some real opportunities for people to joint venture with you. So talk about what's available.
Well, yes, I did want to say this first. When people invest in Point of View, and I am being mentored and inspired by the kind of guests and the kind of things that you offer, Kerby, that goes to their account in heaven.
Very good.
They're invested in us. When I'm out trying to save a baby or trying to lead a college student to Christ, that goes back to you as well. It's just not God blessing me. God's keeping a record in heaven of people who invest in ministries that help the boots on the ground. And I think that's important. If somebody wants to get in contact, usually I've only been arrested 8 times in 40 years, so it's not like it happens all the time. But they usually just arrest the main 2 people, and then they make the rest of the people leave. And that's happened so few times, but maybe more now that Charlie's in heaven. But it just it's one of those things where if they want to, we do a lot of on-the-job training, and they can contact us. I'll even come to their church or whatever and share. Atthewellministries.org. It's all one word. Keep all the words together. Atthewellministries.org or projecttruth.org. One word. Projecttruth.org. And they can contact me through my website and say, hey, we'd like you to come. And I'll go anywhere. I'll go anywhere in the United States, and we've even been to Ireland. So we'll be glad to take you out in front of your local abortion clinic. We'll take you to a college. We do most of the colleges on the West Coast.
Yes.
And so, you can contact us, and we'll let you know what college we will be at, and you can actually come out and shadow us while we talk to students. We have great dialogue with students. There's very few that actually, cross the line, and it doesn't happen very often. It may happen a little bit more now that tension is really high in our country, but we love doing it. We talk to students who come up and share with us that they're suicidal or they come up and talk to us about the struggles they're having, in their lives, and we're able to share a clear gospel presentation with them and have led students to Christ. And it's just a fantastic ministry. I love doing it, and we do about 12 colleges a semester, and so anyone want to contact us, they're welcome to, and we'll do everything we can, and we don't even charge. we just say we'll come and we'll do our thing, and
that's right.
And we just love outreach. We love being out. You can't have an impact without a collision. And so we collide with the darkness wherever it is.
Again, the ministry at thewellministries.org, but you don't even have to remember all that because we do have that link. We got a picture there as well of Don Blythe. And Don, it's always great to have you on the program here on Point of View.
Yeah, I appreciate you all these 40-plus years, Kerby. You're one of my heroes, and I've appreciated Point of View and the impact it's had on my life to help me be inspired to keep on sharing the truth of the gospel with people.
Thank you. Let's hear what some of our listeners have to say.
Point of View, restoring America's godly heritage.
I don't get to listen to it every day, but when I do get to listen to it, when I'm driving and stuff, it's very, very educational. I mean, I've learned a lot this program, and I've learned a lot on Friday's roundtable. I mean, I've just learned a lot, and it's just, I'm so grateful for it because it's just, I'm upping it because there isn't enough out there for us people that, I don't know. There's just so much information out there that you guys have given. The little booklets, I don't read them all when I get them, but I do have them and read which ones are, I don't know. And I enjoy Kerby so well. He's a very good pronouncer.
Well, just every day, I just appreciate your program. I mean, it's just so awesome to see what's happening in the world, and you're just always right there, very specifically giving us what we need to hear, and I just so appreciate it. I just can't. And then I always want to buy the book. Of course, I want to buy every single book, every author that's interviewed, because they're always so fascinating, so interesting. So anyway, I just appreciate what you do.
Restoring America's godly heritage. You and Point of View.
Great comments from Don Blythe as well as from of our listeners. Thought for just a minute, though, I would bring in the president of Point of View, Warren Kelly. And first of all, a lot of people enjoy the books, obviously, want to buy those. A lot of people appreciate what we cover and even those booklets. But we have a very significant hill to climb in the next 2 days.
We do. And this is something that, as you've mentioned before, this is not a frills or extras kind of thing. This is what is essential for us to continue this ministry. And you're joining as a part of this ministry. You're impacting lives. Kerby mentioned yesterday we've had people that have run for school board and city council, mayor, all the way up to state legislature, governor, federal legislature, even the president of the United States. There's just so much impact that we've made. And Don Blythe talked a few minutes ago about the encouragement that Point of View is to those on the front lines. And we've heard that from others like Jim McKee and a number of others, and so many pro-life organizations that have been started. I could sit here all day long and tell you stories about how Point of View has impacted lives, and those lives have gone on to impact the country. And this is what your dollars do. You are the one that's making it possible to reach these people. So let me encourage you to give, and to give generously today.
So, again, we encourage you to make that phone call, 800-347-5151. We mentioned Charlie Kirk. When we come back from the break, I do want to mention some of the things that were stated by the president of Hillsdale College, Larry Arnn, Dr. Larry Arnn, about that. But first of all, we just need to do what we can to deal with this very significant need and try to meet that goal.
Yeah, we're down to $97,000, so every 1,000 counts, and we're going to count it down. You can help us count it down as you you give your gift right now at 800-347-5151, pointofview.net. We're on over 200 radio stations, and if you're listening on one of those outlets right now, maybe in Alaska or Alabama, California, Colorado, Michigan or Minnesota, South Carolina, Georgia, wherever you might be listening today, we need to hear from you. As Warren just said, this isn't frill giving. This isn't for extras. This is to make sure that each and every day we can be on the air for you, and Kerby and the team can continue to deliver the information you need that's inspiring and encouraging and informative. Would you participate right now? 800-347-5151.
And again, when we come back, we're going to spend just a minute talking about how did Charlie Kirk learn all of these things. And that, I think, brings us back to why we are doing what we do here at Point of View. Next hour, we have Michael Farris with us. We're going to talk about some incredible victories which he has been able to bring about. Might even go back and talk about one in history that was very significant where Point of View was involved. But this is the perfect time to call 1-800-347-5151, 1-800-347-5151.
Restoring America's Godly Heritage. Point of View.
One of the things you're aiming at is helping to equip generations of Christians all across this country and around the world on the truth of the Bible in every conceivable way of life. I mean, you, as the head of this ministry and those of us who are listening, supporting this, how do we join you and Point of View in finishing well and giving to Point of View and crossing that finish line. So my appeal to your listeners out there is also to finish well and support this ministry and give well. I think of the impact you've had here. And why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you do that with Point of View? And you have been an incredible resource for me. And I want to continue to support you, Point of View, and what you're doing. And I would ask every listener out there, would you support Point of View and help them to finish well in their goal for this week, this season of their year? They need to finish well.
Point of View, restoring America's godly heritage.
Great comments from Hal Habecker, and his ministry is called Finishing Well Ministries. But when he talks about these resources, he used to be with the Christian Medical and Dental Society, appreciates all the material we have there, then was a pastor for many years at Dallas Bible Church, and now is the head of Finishing Well and really equipping seniors to finish well. And so one of my challenges is for those of you that are older, you know what we mean when we're talking about seniors. We're not talking about seniors in high school, we're talking about people that are 60-something, 70-something or more. I hope that as you are finishing well, you see the resources God has placed in your hands so that we can take these ideas and pass them on to the next generation. In just a minute, I'll talk about how did Charlie Kirk get to the point where he knew some of these things and had such great expertise and was so articulate about some of these ideas when he never even went to college. I mean, went there for a semester, but certainly did not graduate. And I think it illustrates, again, how we have to be self-taught. And we'll get into that in just a minute. But, Collin, we've got some opportunities to change the dynamic here, don't we?
We do. You know, each and every day you're educated, you're taught by this marvelous host, Kerby Anderson. He's been doing it for years. Galatians 6:6 says, "Let the one who is taught the word share all good things with the one who teaches." This is your opportunity to share with the one who teaches and his team, Kerby Anderson and Truth Team Week. We've just gotten two gifts in, two folks who love Point of View, want to help out and encourage others to give. They've put together a matching challenge of $2,200, $2,200. It'll be a dollar-for-dollar match starting right now, so you can get your gift doubled right now at 800-347-5151, 800-347-5151, pointofview.net. We're down to $96,000 now. We're making a step at a time. Again, $2,200 dollar-for-dollar match on the table, and your gift right now can be doubled. 800-347-5151, pointofview.net. Help us count this down. We got $96,000 to go.
And again, one of the reasons why I want to encourage you to call right now is I know some of you are going to be very excited to hear some of the things that we'll hear about from Michael Farris, who's not with us yet, but will be in studio next hour. So that is an opportunity for you to give us a call. So let's get those phones ringing right now, 800-347-5151. Of course, you can go to the website, pointofview.net. And if you did watch the memorial for Charlie Kirk, you might remember one of the individuals who stood up there was Dr. Larry Arnn. We've had him on the program before, president of Hillsdale. And he actually became friends with Charlie Kirk at the age of 19 years of age. And so as he was getting some visibility, one of the things that Charlie Kirk asked Larry Arnn is, what should I do? And Larry Arnn's answer was, well, you have to suffer. If you're going to grow, you have to suffer. It's hard to learn into the night, crack of dawn in the morning. Start with the Bible, read the classics, study the founding of America. In those places, you will find that there's a ladder that reach up towards God. And at the bottom of it are the ordinary good things that are around us everywhere. If we call them by their names, they have being, and the beings of good things are figments of God, and you will find those in Aristotle, you find them in the Bible, you find them in Madison and Jefferson. And so again, one of the things that Charlie Kirk asked, well, how do I learn? You have to suffer, he says. You have to study, you have to think. And Larry Arnn said, I didn't think I'd ever hear from him again. Within a month, he somehow got a hold of my cell phone number, and he texted me a copy of a certificate of a completion of a Hillsdale College online course. He went on to do that 31 more times. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do here. Now, we haven't given out a certificate, although I've thought about it, because if you actually listen to Point of View every day, we're giving you the kind of information that I communicate sometimes out at places like Dallas Theological Seminary or some of these Bible colleges and the rest. But there is a sense in which we're educating you. Those booklets we provide, Collin, are an attempt to summarize, almost like the old Cliff Notes, if you will, some of the great material that you need to know about. And so by listening to Point of View, you're going to learn some very important things you need to know.
You know, every one of the topics that you cover, Kerby, they're great, they're timely, and these booklets, which you get if you give it the $30 a month or more level, and if you're a first-time giver, you're going to get this Patriot Pack. We haven't mentioned that in a while. Things like One Nation Under God, the Federalist Papers, Constitutional Interpretation, all of those are a gift just for being a part as a first-time giver. But these I love because I've told you before, but in 10 minutes, you really can't have a primer on what that topic is about. And again, most importantly, what the Bible says about that topic. And you're just so thorough in such a brief amount of time. These are so helpful. I've read through all the ones I've gotten, and I love them. And I just encourage you, continue learning. Stay like Charlie Kirk, who was just constantly in the mindset of learning new things. Kerby and I were just talking about how he would hear Charlie say something, a fact, and he'd go, oh, yeah, I remember that. It's something I learned, and it's a good thing to be able to know and to share and to understand. So as you give your gift right now, $2,200 matching challenge on the board. Your gift is doubled up to that amount right now. 800-347-5151. 800-347-5151 or pointofview.net.
Again, I might just mention next hour we're going to have Michael Farris with us. A win for religious liberty. The IRS agrees to stop using the Johnson Amendment, which was used as a threat against the free speech of American churches. Going to talk about censorship. Might even talk about homeschooling and much more with Michael Farris. We have some very good articles. By the way, that piece I read just a minute ago from Dr. Larry Arnn about Charlie Kirk is our second article. So as you go to the website, you can find these articles and you can use them and you can print them out. But as you go there, you can also click on the banner that says 250 Years Restoring America's Godly Heritage. Click on that button that says Join Now. You will see, of course, some of the very significant thank you gifts that we provide. We haven't really talked about those today, but there are some tremendous benefits of actually being a supporter to Point of View, and I hope that many of you will consider joining with us on a monthly basis. As we've said before, the bills that Warren Kelly has to pay each month are coming in monthly. If the income comes in monthly, that matches up pretty well.
It does. And, you know, your gift doesn't just make sure that this program is here every day. Because of the program and the way that it operates and the information that it shares and the guests that it has on, your gift changes lives. You can be a part of that right now. 800-347-5151. $96,000 to go. We're counting it down. We have a $2,200 matching challenge on the board. Your gift right now is doubled. Thanks to Gene in South Carolina, David in South Carolina, Linda in West Virginia, Brian in North Carolina, and Darlene in Arizona. You're making a difference. You're helping to see lives changed right here through Point of View. 800-347-5151.
Let's make those phones ring. This is a great time to make that phone call. You won't miss any of the content. And if you've been waiting, now is the time to act. Again, that number, 800-347-5151. Of course, the website at any time, pointofview.net. We'll be right back.
Do not miss your opportunity to join the movement, the team. I'm talking about the Truth Team, Point of View's most faithful sustainers dedicated to reclaiming America's godly heritage. There are only a few days left of Truth Team Week, and we still need to hit our goal so we can carry the truth forward. You can be part of that. Will you join the team today and make a difference? As you know, this is a pivotal moment in American history as we approach our 250th anniversary as a nation. Now is the time to turn back to truth. When you give to Point of View, you're equipping people everywhere to apply objective truth in a world that's forgotten what truth looks like. Act now. Join the Truth Team at pointofview.net. Or you can call us at 1-800-347-5151. The Truth Team. That's pointofview.net and 1-800-347-5151. Point of View will continue after this.
I do appreciate Point of View and what you folks are doing. You really are doing a great job to educate and to help Christian folks do a better job to honor Christ in all that we do.
My husband and I are your supporters. We just really appreciate the show and the people you bring on.
I just want to commend you guys on your program. I love listening to you. It's a blessing. Been listening to you for several years. Your program has helped my family see current events and elections and politics through the eyes and the principles of Scripture. And that's been enlightening, and we're trying to pass that on to others.
I want to say, first of all, that I really enjoyed the Millennial Roundtable, and I love the program altogether. I think Kerby is great, and I really appreciate all of y'all, all that y'all do, and the truth that y'all put out.
Hey, great show. Love all your comments and what you're talking about.
Thanks again for what you do.
Point of View Radio Talk Show.
Hi, this is Kerby Anderson. You know, each day we take on the tough issues and provide a biblical perspective to them. The topics we cover are wide-ranging: apologetics, theology, prophecy, creation and evolution, intelligent design, marriage, family, child-rearing, the millennial generation, trends in society, politics, economics, business, religious liberty, the Constitution, public policy, foreign policy, military policy, tensions in the Middle East, abortion, homosexuality, pornography, sexual ethics, media, technology, history, and America's godly heritage. We talk about anything that affects your faith, your family, or your freedom. So don't go anywhere, because Point of View continues right now.
Across America, live. This is Point of View. And now, Kerby Anderson.
Second hour today as we continue our conversation. I mention again that we're in the fourth day of our Truth Team Week. We have in studio with us Mike Farris. We'll talk more about that with him in just a minute. Collin Lambert here as well. And as we went to the break, we had a match on the table. How are we doing?
We're doing all right. We've got about 150 of that taken care of, so a little over $2,000 remaining. A $2,200 matching challenge on the board. Your gift right now can be doubled dollar for dollar. 800-347-5151, 800-347-5151, pointofview.net. Again, today, tomorrow, that's it, Kerby, and we're through for the week. Truth Team Week, so important. Our goal, what we have remaining, $96,000. We need a big day today. We need a big day tomorrow. We need you to get involved. You make the difference. We're listener-supported radio. We don't get any government grants. There's no big endowment supporting the work of Point of View. Your gift enables us to stay on the air, and we need your gifts right now. So whatever you can do, we encourage you to call 800-347-5151 or go to pointofview.net. Look for the big banner that says Restoring America's Godly Heritage.
You know, Collin, one of the things you heard earlier in the week is we had one of our listeners on this particular endorsement say they really appreciated some of the legal update that we give. And, of course, tomorrow we're going to have Kelly Shackelford here. On Monday, of course, we also had in studio Lathan Watts, who's Vice President with Alliance Defending Freedom. On Tuesday, we talked a little bit with Bunny Pounds, and she was talking about a real success that came on the Johnson Amendment because of Michael Farris. I said, you know, Michael Farris is going to be here on Thursday. She may actually be in the observation room because she was so excited to find that out. But if you go to our website, you will see that article we'll talk about in just a minute. But Michael Farris, of course, is a litigator, educator, communicator, an individual that is probably best known for most of us as the president of the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. Liberty McCarter, who's on tomorrow, she went to Patrick Henry College, and actually he was the one that founded that. He has been up until recently the president and CEO of Alliance Defending Freedom, and of course is the general counsel for the National Religious Broadcasters. But I think also, Michael Farris, you have been friends with Marlon Maddox, you've been friends with us, and I really appreciate the deep friendship we've had with you over those years.
Well, it is a wonderful thing, and I just hearing the intro music and stuff brings back such memories, and I'm so glad to see that you're playing the same inspiring, godly message. It's just wonderful to hear.
I might just mention this article here is talking about a win for religious liberty. The IRS agrees to stop using the Johnson Amendment to threaten free speech of American churches. And one of the things I thought was so interesting is the argument that you made that indeed the Johnson Amendment has long been applied in a discriminatory manner over the issue of the First Amendment. Since we're in the state of Texas, a little bit of history. 1948, individual running for the Senate, Lyndon Johnson, just barely won. Landslide Lyndon, you know. Matter of fact, one precinct voted in perfect alphabetical order. Well, anyway, 1954, he was in another very tight race, and this time he was being attacked by sort of anti-communist, and so he was able to, without even any kind of consideration, just sort of a voice vote, what's called the Johnson Amendment in 1954. It really then prohibited any nonprofit from endorsing a candidate addressing those issues. And this has been something that sometimes has been used against churches, sometimes been used as pastors as an excuse not to speak to the issues, but you finally got an answer to this question and a resolution that we've needed for decades, right?
Indeed. The irony is that Lyndon Johnson's campaign in 1954, 2 weeks after the Johnson Amendment passed, had a pastor in the Dallas area send out a letter to 29,000 Protestant pastors urging them to vote for the good Christian man Lyndon Johnson. So his own campaign violated the Johnson Amendment within 2 weeks. But so much for intellectual integrity and so on. But the case is not yet final. We have filed a consent decree proposed by both the Justice Department, the United States Justice Department, and me on behalf of National Religious Broadcasters, Intercessors for America, and 2 churches from the Tyler, Texas area.
Yeah.
And so that consent decree says that it is unconstitutional to apply the Johnson Amendment to church worship services. And so if churches spend money outside of the worship service to go buy ads, political ads, they can't do that. But the decision was that church worship services occupy the highest space in the constitutional hierarchy. And what the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, the establishment of religion, all blend together to say that's the most protected area. And the government simply can't tell you what to say or not to say. And so it's a carve-out based on constitutional principles, but a judge has to approve the consent decree. And,
right.
And that's still pending. Looks like there's going to be a hearing. The date's a little fluid right now, but around the 1st of November, there should be a final hearing. And within a few weeks after that, we'll get a final opinion. So sometime in the next few months, it'll be wound up. But in the meantime, the Internal Revenue Service has made a commitment, and President Trump has repeatedly endorsed that commitment. In fact, he had to sign off on it in the first place, that the IRS will not interpret the Johnson Amendment this way. And so already we have the IRS's public interpretation of the law. But to make it permanent and binding, the judge has to approve.
Well, but again, let's give some history, because one of the resources we're making available, Collin, is, at least especially for some of our first-time donors, is our booklet on the patriot pastors and the patriot preachers. And in there, we talk about the fact that historically we used to have election sermons. We've had pastors address all sorts of issues. If you go and look at during the framing period, when I was at Georgetown University, we looked at some of the writings of those individuals. The document most often quoted was the Bible, and oftentimes the book of the Bible most often quoted was Deuteronomy, of all things. Yeah. And those ideas, which we took for granted, almost changed instantaneously in 1954.
Indeed. In fact, the Bill of Rights would not have been brought into existence if the Johnson Amendment had been in place. James Madison, the leading Federalist and the father of the Constitution, is his recognized title, was in the minority in Virginia. He was a Federalist, wanted to put the Constitution in place. And Patrick Henry, the governor of Virginia, and I named a college after him, so I really like Patrick Henry. But in this instance, there was a debate about whether we needed a Bill of Rights. Patrick Henry said yes, and he wanted to have the Bill of Rights before they ratified the Constitution. But the Virginia Convention said, well, we'll get a Bill of Rights after. We'll ratify first and then get a Bill of Rights. Madison still didn't want a Bill of Rights. He was running for Congress, to be in the first Congress. And he went to the Baptist pastors in his area in Orange County, Virginia, and said, I need your votes. And they said, until you promise to give us a Bill of Rights with religious freedom protected, we're not going to vote for you. Yeah. And he made a deal. He said, okay, I'll support a Bill of Rights, and I'll lead the charge. And they said, okay, we'll vote for you. And they circulated the word, and he beat his opponent, who was James Monroe.
James Monroe. I remember that story.
So anyhow, the impetus for getting the Bill of Rights was Baptist pastors saying, you got to support a Bill of Rights, and they endorsed him in church. And that's how we got the Bill of Rights.
1-800-347-5151. If you find yourself saying, I just heard some things I never heard before. I know the story. James Monroe, James Madison running against each other. But nevertheless, we need to hear from you. 800-347-5151. We'll be back right after this.
This is Viewpoints with Kerby Anderson.
Now that students are back in school, parents sometimes take a moment to look at the textbooks their children are reading. Often they are shocked at what the authors of the textbooks write. Daniel Buck and Anna Lowe of American Enterprise Institute also recommend that you look at the textbook publishers themselves. They argue that the bias in textbooks is real. They say skim through the voting section of McGraw-Hill's civics textbook and you'll see images of Hillary Clinton's and Elizabeth Warren's campaigns. Grab the same publisher's world history textbook and you'll read that the First Intifada was a mostly unarmed uprising against Israeli occupation, conveniently omitting discussion of the 200 murdered Jews. They point to Pearson Education that launched a Pride 365 initiative designed to incorporate LGBTQ themes into all classrooms every day. Houghton Mifflin announced its support of Black Lives Matter and established a Black Alliance employee group, and they describe one history textbook, still approved on the College Board's website, that depicts Donald Trump's election as a racist, white majority reacting to fear of the growing ethnic diversity in America, and it also depicts Trump as mentally unstable. Now, they do admit that the textbooks shy away from the radical conclusion of Howard Zinn or the 1619 Project, but the narrative is one of big government ever championing over conservative recalcitrants. They concluded that it will take far more than a few executive orders to reroute America's schools back to a path of traditional academic and political neutrality. That's why parents and grandparents should be concerned. I'm Kerby Anderson, and that's my point of view.
For a free booklet on biblical reliability, go to viewpoints.info/biblical reliability. Viewpoints.info/biblical reliability. Restoring America's Godly Heritage. Point of View.
It's not an either-or thing. Jesus didn't say you're to be the salt of the earth or the light of the world. You're to be salt and light. And, you know, that's what I appreciate and why I support Point of View, because what you all are doing is you are being salt in this world. You're calling for God's people to stand up against unrighteousness by being equipped with the truth. And I think that is why it is so important that we support this ministry.
Point of View. Restoring America's Godly Heritage.
Some comments from Robert Jeffers, pastor of First Baptist Church here in the Dallas area, and he's well aware of the fact that he had the freedom to certainly address issues from the pulpit. But one of the reasons why we make available some of these articles, and you can find it on our website, it says Johnson Amendment and Michael Farris, and this is actually about an 8-page document that gives you all the details. We just gave you the Cliff Notes version of that to show that these various policies and sermons and statements by pastors that sometimes were to draw IRS scrutiny, that is no longer. So if you have a pastor saying, well, I really can't address some of these issues like abortion or homosexuality or pornography or children's rights or family principles, whatever, because that would be political, you can show them this document, and it's available on the website at pointofview.net. And a very good summary, I think, of how the IRS agrees to stop using using the Johnson Amendment, but also a prayer target so we can get that consent decree as well. Collin, how are we doing? We certainly need to get some people making some phone calls.
We do. We've got $1,800 remaining in this dollar for dollar matching challenge up to $2,200. Your gift right now, critical, 800-347-5151. We've got folks calling in from all different states right now. Pam in Arkansas heard the call. She's giving $10 a month. That becomes $20 a month. Juliana in California, your $10 a month becomes $20 a month. So for that whole first year, your gift is doubled. Great time to give right now. Your gifts are making a difference in the lives of people all over the country. Not only your own life, the life of your kids, your grandkids. And you've heard us talk all week, and Michael will be talking more in just a moment about the impact of Point of View on this country. People who have been raised listening to Point of View, learning the things that Kerby talks about each and every day, learning from incredible guests like this. You are able to take that information and put it into practice in your own life, with your own voting, with your own activism, whatever it is you're doing. And it's all based on the foundational principles of God's Word. That's the key as well. 800-347-5151, 800-347-5151, or pointofview.net. Let's hear from you right now. We're down to $95,000 to go and about $1,700 in this dollar for dollar match.
Let me come back to Michael Farris. And of course, I mentioned as the individual that was the founder of the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. But one of the stories that you've told, and interesting enough, our Vice President of Stewardship, Jana Weidler, has told this many times to donors of what happened. And you've got to go back a couple decades to when we heard from, I think at that time it was Dick Armey, who's a good friend of Marlon Maddox, and from you, that there was going to be this intrusion of the federal government into homeschooling. And I thought it would be great for you to tell the story, one, so that we get it from the individual that actually saw how it played out, and also so that we can pass it on to so many individuals that have heard part of the story, but I'd love to hear the whole story.
Sure. Well, in 1994, George Miller, who's a congressman from Contra Costa, California, where Vicki and I were married in 1971, so we're recently newlyweds of 54 years, and he put a provision into the education funding bill for the year, that year was called H.R. 6, that said to be allowed to teach any child in America, you had to be certified in whatever subject you were teaching. It applied to public schools, it applied to private schools, it applied to homeschools. And so he was a friend of the teachers union. It was their deal. And you also need to know on the back of that, they also had another resolution that was pending elsewhere, that in order to be a certified teacher, you also had to be a member of the teachers union. So this was about money and power. And Dick Armey was on the committee. Democrats controlled both houses in the White House with Bill Clinton was the president at the time. And they worked together, and Armey tried to strike this provision. He lost on a straight party line vote. He called me up after the vote and said, was he reading it correctly? Was this as big a problem as he thought? And we said, yes. And so the vote on the floor was coming up in 8 days. And we had 8 days to try to beat this back. And the first place that we went to get the word out nationally was Point of View with Marlon Maddox. And I was on the program, and we launched. And it was, as I recall it, it was either on Thursday or Friday that we had the program with Marlon. There was a weekend in play here. And by that weekend, simply because of Point of View, primarily because of Point of View, we were in the 500,000 phone call range. Mm-hmm. And that blew them apart.
That's
now,
right.
The next week, other things took in. Dr. Dobson heard the Point of View broadcast. He got us on his program. And so we were going all guns. This is before the internet, before email. We had phone trees. We had, but didn't really use fax machines. It was snail mail, phone trees, word of mouth, and Point of View radio. And after 8 days, we had 3 million phone calls. Gingrich told me that was the number. Now, at the end of the day, here's what happened. We needed to do a last-minute amendment of the Army Amendment because of a procedural glitch that one person raised, and there was a concern. And I said, well, that's easy to fix. Just do this, this, this. And they said, well, the Army staff said, well, you could do that, but you have to have a permission of the Rules Committee to make a change right now. I said, well, how do we get that? And he said, well, you need to get Joe Moakley, Democrat from Massachusetts, to agree to it. And so he said, you need calls from Joe Moakley's office from Massachusetts right now. So I called the Massachusetts person, got the calls in. Fast forward just a few minutes, and my daughter, who was 16 at the time, was not supposed to be answering the phones at HSLD. She was supposed to be doing her job as a graphic artist and editor. But the phone on the lady's desk next door was ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing. And despite instructions, she picked up the phone, and it was Joe Moakley, Chief of Staff. She transferred him to me. He said, how do we get rid of these calls? We're tired of these calls. And I said, the only way to get rid of the calls is to take the vote today. And he said, I understand. Made no promises. And it was about 15 minutes later, if you're watching C-SPAN, Joe Moakley walked across the floor of the House, talked to Dick Armey for about 30 seconds. They shook hands. They made the change. They took the vote, and we won 422-1. Now, there were two lessons there. If you don't speak up, you're going to lose. But the other lesson was, at the end of the day, it was not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit that whispered into the heart and mind of a 16-year-old, said, pick up the phone. Because if she hadn't picked up that phone, that was going to go to a dead, jammed voicemail. We would have not gotten the message, and it could have all come apart. The teachers' union was caught unawares. We took them by surprise. But if it had to be delayed, all bets were off. And so the Holy Spirit used a lot of things, but chief among that was Point of View Radio. And I've been a big, big, big fan ever since.
I love the story. We've told it before, but now we have all the details. And I was just thinking, Collin, if you scroll down, you see we have a take action item right now, the about No Budget, No Pay Act right now, if people want to be involved with that. And that's something we've been encouraging people to do ever since.
Those action items critical through the years in getting people mobilized. But I just want to talk to you. Maybe you have been a homeschooling parent or family in the past. One of the reasons you're able to do that freely is because of what Michael Farris has just described here and the influence of Point of View in that process. If you're a homeschooler, maybe you just support homeschooling, love what has taken place through Point of View through the years, your gift enables us to continue to make that kind of impact each and every day. 800-347-5151. We have $1,500 now remaining in the dollar for dollar match. $1,500. Maybe you could take care of that whole thing right now. Whatever size gift you can give, we need to hear from you. 800-347-5151. Time is running out today, tomorrow. That's it. We've still got $95,000 to go. Every gift matters. We're going to need some of those leadership gifts today as well. 800-347-5151 and pointofview.net.
We're going to take a break, and we'll maybe keep Michael here for one more segment and then let him get on to his busy day. Got something about censorship. The left has been censoring speech. He's been speaking to that issue. And a very good piece, Solution as Big as the Problem. So we have those articles that you can read on the website, and we'll give you brief summaries of them. But first of all, let's make sure that as we go to the bottom of the hour, I know most of you don't want to call when you're listening to Michael Farris. You want to hear him. You don't want to make a phone call. So this is the perfect time to give us a call. It's 800-347-5151. 800-347-5151. Of course, the website you can go to at any time is pointofview.net. Let's get 5 or 10 phone calls during this segment. It's a great opportunity for you to join with us, and we'll be back right after this.
Do not miss your opportunity to join the movement, the team. I'm talking about the Truth Team, Point of View's most faithful sustainers dedicated to reclaiming America's godly heritage. There are only a few days left of Truth Team Week, and we still need to hit our goal so we can carry the truth forward. You can be part of that. Will you join the team today and make a difference? As you know, this is a pivotal moment in American history as we approach our 250th anniversary as a nation. Now is the time to turn back to truth. When you give to Point of View, you're equipping people everywhere to apply objective truth in a world that's forgotten what truth looks like. Act now. Join the Truth Team at pointofview.net. Or you can call us at 1-800-347-5151. The Truth Team. That's pointofview.net and 1-800-347-5151. Point of View will continue after this. You are listening to Point of View. The opinions expressed on Point of View do not necessarily reflect the views of the management or staff of this station. And now, here again is Kerby Anderson.
Back once again, we certainly do encourage your phone calls, and we've been fortunate to have some. But Collin, give us an update on where we are.
We're down to $830 to go on this dollar-for-dollar matching challenge right now. We're down to $94,000 for our goal. Again, we just have a little bit left today in today's program, and then tomorrow's program. And so it really is the final moments of this Truth Team Week, and so important that we hear from you. If you've never given before, this is a perfect time. If you have given before, you might consider giving another gift. Maybe you give $30 a month, consider raising it to $50 a month. Maybe you could give a one-time gift if you're giving a monthly gift. If you are blessed, Wes Stafford with Compassion International used to say, what is enough, as we as Americans are so blessed? What is enough? Do you have enough? If you're one of those people who has enough and could give a special leadership gift today, that would be so helpful as well. Maybe $2,500 or $5,000 or $10,000. 800-347-5151. Pointofview.net. A few quick thank yous. Paula, Olivia, Tommy, Brenda, Anita, and Barbara. Thank you for your recent gifts. We are so grateful.
One of the things I wanted to talk about with you, Michael Farris, since you, of course, are the general counsel for the National Religious Broadcasters, and one of the other people at NRB years ago, Craig Parshall, you know him as well, by the way, married to Janet Parshall, was this issue of censorship. And one of the articles I've posted comes from the editors of the Wall Street Journal when the left censors speech, and they quote, for example, the letter that went to Jim Jordan, who's the House Judiciary Committee chairman, in which Google's parent Alphabet said the Biden administration conducted repeated and sustained outreach to those individuals and pressed the company regarding certain issues related to COVID-19. There's one from Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Meta, in which they said that there were individuals that would sometimes get on the phone and scream at them and curse them. That's what Mark Zuckerberg told podcaster Joe Rogan. And I know at the National Religious Broadcasters, you've been concerned about this growing censorship of the left and growing censorship of Christians. And this, I think, is good news, isn't it?
It is good news. There was a case that went to the Supreme Court of the United States in the last term suing the Biden administration for these regular meetings they had in the White House to all the social media companies were told, silence this person, silence that person, silence this message, silence another message. And I filed an amicus brief for NRB in that case that argued that if we're talking about protected speech, now speech about violence is not all protected. And so there are very narrow areas of unprotected speech. But when we're talking about protected speech and everything about COVID, everything about right to life, everything about LGBT, all of it's protected speech, both sides. And when we're dealing with protected speech, the government should never be able to say, silence that voice, period. And I don't care if it's Republicans or Democrats. Nobody should be able to say, silence that voice. Now, the Supreme Court said that the Biden administration went too far in a few instances, but that we're within their bounds of suggestion.
I didn't like their decision.
And it was, I didn't agree. But yes. I'm glad to see these agencies fessing up. There was more to it than was revealed in that case. And I'm glad to see that they're taking the right point of view, because businesses should be in the business of business. They shouldn't be in the business of political propaganda. And we've seen how that has affected a lot of businesses. We don't have to go into all their names right now because it would be too long. Yeah. But nonetheless, we need to be standing up for the principles of freedom of speech for everybody.
One other one that I've posted here, I called it a solution as big as the problem, and it says Michael Farris. And you talk about the spending and debt crisis, $37.5 trillion, regulatory crisis, congressional attacks on state sovereignty, federal takeover. And these are major issues. And if you're waiting for Congress to eventually pass an amendment that then can be ratified by the states, you will be waiting forever. And your argument is that there is an Article 5 section in the Constitution which does provide an opportunity for us to come up with a balanced budget amendment that Congress will never come up with, or a variety of other issues. Can you speak to that?
Sure. The Convention of States project got a big boost this week because President Trump tweeted out a positive recommendation to people about it. He copied an article about promoting the Convention of States, and we believe that's going to really help us. So far, 19 states have joined the call to call for a convention that drafts constitutional amendments on 3 topics: impose fiscal restraints on the federal government, impose term limits on federal officials, which would be not just members of Congress, but long-term officials like Dr. Fauci, and third, to limit the power and jurisdiction of the federal government. For example, to take away the power of Congress to authorize court packing in the Supreme Court would be an example. Another example would be to say that every bill had to be considered on one subject. A lot of states have that. Rather than these 1,000-page bills, you'd have to do one at a time and take them up and down and vote them. So there's a lot that can be done, and the reason that we need to do this is the reason that George Mason put it in the Constitution in the first place. He said, someday the federal government's going to abuse its power. And when that happens, Congress will never propose an amendment to limit its own power or federal power generally. And that's the truth. And so, but they gave the states the ability to propose constitutional amendments. People fearmonger about it because they say, well, it could run away. No, it can't. Because at the end of the day, 76 state legislative bodies have to vote yes, 2 from 38 states. So 38 states have to approve it. Both chambers have to approve it. And you can't pass crazy through that system. You can right-wing crazy, left-wing crazy. You got to make common sense to a lot of people. So if we want to get rid of the Department of Education permanently, you need the Convention of States. If you want to balance the federal government budget permanently, and by doing it by decreasing federal spending, you got to do the Convention of States. And so President Trump, we're thrilled that he got on board this week. And just, anxious to see it go fast. We're at 19 states. We need 34.
And again, we're talking about whether or not to use international law to interpret the Constitution. We're talking about commerce. I can go down that long list, but even our little booklet on the Federalist Papers, which we make available, it gets into that because George Mason, and you can see his house if you go to Williamsburg, was really talking about those issues. And I think as you and I talked off the air, if I remember right, there was a very good scholarly article that Harvard University published on whether or not we had a runaway convention back in the 18th century, and we did not, and we won't this time if it's focused on a single issue, right?
That's right. And if people want to read that article that I wrote, you just put my last name, Farris, Farris, and then put Defying Conventional Wisdoms, the name of the article. It's free, available on the internet, and you can read why our Constitution was legitimately and lawfully adopted.
Yes. So again, a lot of history, and that's why it's important to talk about these issues during the 250th anniversary that we're going to be talking about this year.
Yeah, Truth Team Week is going on right now, and you're going to have a chance in this coming year to learn a lot. Kerby's going to be teaching through some of these documents that you're talking about, taking you deeper through some of these documents that really were part of the founding of our nation, and continue to have on guests like Michael Farris, who bring just a wealth of information each and every day to this program. We're down to $200 remaining in this dollar-for-dollar match. Let's see if someone can knock that out right now. About $200 remaining in that. We're down to $94,000 to go. Today, tomorrow, that's it. If you got an email in your inbox from Kerby today, open it up, click on that link there. You can also call 800-347-5151, 800-347-5151. Go to pointofview.net, click on the big banner that says Restoring America's Godly Heritage. You can click on that as well. Remember, we're listener supported, no government grants, no endowments. Your gifts enable Point of View to be heard in your area each and every day. Let's continue that for the year ahead. 800-347-5151.
Just before we had you on, we quoted some things from Dr. Larry Arnn at Hillsdale College, a great place to go. But how about Patrick Henry College? Tomorrow, Liberty's going to be sitting in that chair there, and she's a graduate of Patrick Henry College. What would you recommend?
Well, Patrick Henry is 25 years old, and we're just thrilled with what God's doing. We won our 14th national championship in moot court. This year, we beat Yale. It was Yale's first trip to the championship level, and it was our 14th championship. So we're a little better than Yale. But if your young people are interested in the law or government or strategic intelligence or business and economic analytics,
journalism,
please come take a look at Patrick Henry. The other schools you mentioned are all good schools. We feel like they're a fellowship of people out there, but we would love to see kids take a look at Patrick Henry College.
Well, thank you for coming and spending some time with us. We're going to spend some time talking with Janet Wilder in just a minute, but we got a phone call to make. 800-347-5151, 1-800-347-5151. Janet Weidler will be with us, and she's the Vice President of Stewardship in just a minute. But before we do that, we're encouraging people to make that phone call.
Your gift changes lives. That's the most important thing that we're talking about today, the foundation of the Scripture and what's going on in culture and how to think about it. 800-347-5151, 800-347-5151, or pointofview.net.
We'll be right back.
Restoring America's Godly Heritage. Point of View.
Oh my goodness, we need Point of View. Kerby and his guests bring us biblical perspective every day. And it's hard to do it every single day, but they do it so well. And it's what we need. There are so many voices that vie for our attention. And so many of those voices try to take us away from God's word and God's ways. And Point of View helps us to stay focused on that. And as a radio station general manager, that's the kind of programming I need. And without Point of View, honest, I don't know what else I have. I don't know where else to turn.
Point of View, restoring America's godly heritage.
Very nice comments from the general manager there of The Word, WPEO in Peoria, Illinois, Paul Scott. And we certainly do appreciate the relationship we have with so many of the radio stations and those that are nice enough to carry this program. And Collin, in order to keep doing the program, we do, of course, need to raise our funds.
It's Truth Team Week, and that's when we come to you and just tell you flat out, here's what the need is. It's $150,000 this week, which will be used for the months ahead. We're down to $94,000 and about $200 left in this matching challenge right now. Your gift can be doubled up to that $230 remaining. But the truth is, whatever gift you can give right now, participation is key. As you're listening on maybe one of the 212 outlets that carry Point of View, as you're listening in states like Connecticut and Kentucky and Nebraska and Nevada and Ohio and Oklahoma, as you're listening in these different states, understand that you're only able to listen because of people who've given gifts before and are giving gifts now to help us continue. So it is so important that we hear from you today or tomorrow as we wrap up Truth Team Week. 800-347-5151 is the number. You can also go to pointofview.net. Be sure to check your inbox. If you're a friend of Point of View, you may be getting an email, and there's a link there. You can just click the link. It takes you right there, and you can give. And just a quick call out to those of you who maybe have been blessed with your business. Things are good right now. Maybe you're retired and you're trying to figure out where to spend some of those extra dollars that really will have an impact for eternity, not just something temporal. We need some of those larger gifts right now to help put us over where we need to be today as we wrap up. You can do that by giving a gift of $2,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000. The gift size doesn't matter. There's no gift too small and no gift too large. 800-347-5151, pointofview.net.
You know, Collin was talking about some of our listeners. Let's hear from them.
Point of View, restoring America's godly heritage.
I am just so thankful for you, Kerby, and for you continuing in this ministry, and for people whom God has lifted up in these last days. You are our source of, one of our sources of strength. Of course, the Lord is our first, but I just want to thank you and just ask that God would bless you.
When I do listen to Point of View, or like I've printed out things, you know, that y'all had and read to my Sunday school class, but I said, you know, it's not biased information. It's based on truth. You get to find out what really is happening. I said, now you can say they're biased as far as a Christian viewpoint. However, that's truth. The Lord has really used Point of View in so many ways over the years, in so many lives, I'm sure. And I know that y'all's desire is to please the Lord, to honor Him with all that's done there. So thank y'all for all that you do.
Restoring America's godly heritage. You and Point of View.
Just a great opportunity for you to participate. I thought we might want to hear from, again, our Vice President of Stewardship, Jana Weidler, and thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure, Kerby, and hello, Collin, and hello to all the listeners out there.
You know, one of the things that you oftentimes share is the story that we just heard a few minutes ago from Michael Farris, in which, in some respects, that was the way to save homeschooling. And it's just one of many stories that I know you and I have told when we go out and talk to some of our donors. And it's just one more reason why people should think about supporting Point of View.
Absolutely. And I will tell you that people out there might be thinking right now that their gift won't make much of a difference. But let me assure you, it will, and God will multiply your gifts. So if you're listening right now, please stop what you're doing, go online or call, and give the best gift you can give. As the Lord has blessed you, please bless Point of View. Don't put it off until you get home from work, or, you know, you might be in the grocery store listening to a podcast of this right now. Please stop what you're doing and give now.
And again, you mentioned the podcast. Matter of fact, I was in a meeting yesterday and we were talking about the 3 different podcasts that are available. Of course, you can hear the podcast of the program. You can hear, of course, we're going to be talking tomorrow with Liberty McCarter about the Know Why podcast. And we've also, of course, talked about the Spotify Point of View highlights that Megan puts together. And so they're just some great opportunities for you to hear the programs that way, but also you can get the booklets, the resources, and others. And you've been a recipient all these years, Collin, of some of those materials as well.
Absolutely. That's one of the things I love about Point of View is the materials that you provide, not only the booklets or the magazine, but just even going online, Kerby, you always have articles there waiting for people that talk about the issues of the day from a biblical perspective. The resources are incredible. I know you do so much of this research yourself. You think about most programs like Point of View, most of the hosts probably have 10, 15 people around them helping pull this stuff together. And really, you do a majority of the work on the actual content that comes through this program. And of course, we have a great crew behind the scenes as well with the technical parts, but so much goes into this. And if you've been blessed, again, Galatians 6:6, if you've been blessed by a ministry like Point of View, the Bible makes it clear that you should give back. If you've never given before to Point of View, if you've been listening since the Marlin Mag's time frame, this isn't to shame you, it's to encourage you. Now's the time to get on the field. Now's the time more than ever. How much do we need real truth today? We need it a lot, and you're not going to hear it in most of the places that you look out, the ABCs, the NBCs, CBS's, MS, all those number letter networks, but you are going to find it here each and every day. Truth and inspiration and information, 800-347-5151, pointofview.net. A few quick thank yous. Nancy, Lana, Sherry, Sharon, Zane, Joe, Jeff, and others, Lewis. All those gifts coming in right now. We're so grateful. $70 left on the dollar for dollar match. Maybe you can take care of that 70 right now.
We'll try to get some more time with Jana tomorrow because I know she has some more to share, but I'm looking at the clock and we're down to the last minute. So first of all, let me say the obvious. Even though we're going off the air, you will still be able to make that phone call. Matter of fact, you might be talking to my daughter. You might be talking to Cullen's wife. You might be talking to my wife. You might be talking to Jana, who knows? And that is a way in which you can make your pledge. You don't have to have all the money right now, but consider joining us at the monthly level. Of course, you can at any time go to the website, which is pointofview.net. But if you find yourself saying, well, I'd like to find some of these articles you're talking about, they're all available on the website. And that's something else that you can do, simply to go to the website and click on that button that says Join Now. First of all, as always, Collin, thank you for your help. And just want to thank Don and Michael for being willing to join with us today. We're going to have a really good program tomorrow. I want to thank both the Megans as well as Steve, all the people behind the scenes. Enjoy today. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow right here on Point of View.
Do not miss your opportunity to join the movement, the team. I'm talking about the Truth Team, Point of View's most faithful sustainers dedicated to reclaiming America's godly heritage. There are only a few days left of Truth Team Week, and we still need to hit our goal so we can carry the truth forward. You can be part of that. Will you join the team today and make a difference? As you know, this is a pivotal moment in American history as we approach our 250th anniversary as a nation. Now is the time to turn back to truth. When you give to Point of View, you're equipping people everywhere to apply objective truth in a world that's forgotten what truth looks like. Act now. Join the Truth Team at pointofview.net. Or you can call us at 1-800-347-5151. The Truth Team. That's pointofview.net and 1-800-347-5151. Point of View is produced by Point of View Ministries.